Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. In today's video, we'll be talking about a big issue involving Sonar Studios, the studios that created your beloved creatures of Sonaria, mainly about their new game Animal Kingdom. I felt this concern should be voiced as it keeps growing more common with Sonar Studios, but before I do begin any discussion on this new game that they have made, I do want to say that yes, I know this game is alpha, and it just came out. That is not the reason that I'm concerned about, and I do know that there's a lot of unfinished things, and they do need to add more and stuff like that, but that's not what I'm concerned about. But with that said, let's go ahead and just get right into the video. So anyone who's been following Sonar Studios should know what I'm talking about when I bring up the fact that as time goes on, the studio produces more and more games, and each game seems to have a little less effort than the last game, Animal Kingdom being the main solid proof. For more depth on Animal Kingdom, it was recently published as alpha on Roblox a few days ago or a few weeks ago, depending on when you're seeing this video, or maybe months ago. The game is simulated closely following Pet Simulator and also Animal Simulator. Anyone who has played those games will agree it's heavily based on both of those games if you join this game. Before the game was even published, I had full-on doubts, as the first sign this game may not put its best foot forward was when it didn't even have its own Discord. Instead, it shares it with Griffin's Destiny. If any of you are in that Discord, you will see that Griffin's Destiny and Animal Kingdom share the same type of Discord, and that's where you'll find both of the development. Yeah, I know it isn't a big issue, or it's not a big thing because they both share the same Discord. I know that's not something that would depend on basically the game's life, but if you look at it, Dragon Adventures and also Creatures of Sonar have their own Discords, and they are very big in player counts. They're very popular, and they're also very good and put good thought put basically into them. Griffin's Destiny and Animal Kingdom do not have the same type of vibe as, in my opinion, they don't, as they both share the same Discord. And yeah, Griffin's Destiny has an average amount of players when it comes to the game, but I feel like there's not a lot of effort put into both of the games. I feel like Griffin's Destiny has effort, but when you go to look at Animal Kingdom, out of all the games that they've actually put out there, Animal Kingdom has to have the less effort. The game itself seemed very rushed, as development started on July 8th of 2023, and it was just published as alpha a few days ago, if not a few weeks ago. I know that a 3-month of development is not like that short, and it's also not that long, and I know that any game with the right motivation and consideration of the game could actually get the game done in 3 months. But something to put in consideration for Sonar Studios is most of these developers that are working on Animal Kingdom also work on Creatures of Sonar, Griffin's Destiny, Dragon Adventures, and Lord knows what other games Sonar Studios has just thrown out there. Meaning that those 3 months were not solely just on Animal Kingdom, and it was a back burner for like basically the whole 3 months, and they were focusing on Creatures of Sonaria, Dragon Adventures, before they focused on Animal Kingdom. When I first got into the game, I felt like I was basically on a mini-map of Creatures of Sonaria. The trees looked the same, and so did some of the assets actually in the game, which I know Sonar Studios is known to reuse the assets, and in defense, yeah, a lot of big games actually reuse the assets to save time and money, but it does get very old when every game they make uses the same assets and basically does not change much of it. Now I know that it can also be the signature style for the studios to have their games kind of look exactly the same, so people know, oh, this is Sonar Studios games, without even looking at the title of it or anything like that. But it does come to a point when they keep reusing the same assets, or they make assets that look almost the exact same as ones in Creatures of Sonar or Dragon Adventures, for example. It makes the game kind of not stick out from the other games, and it makes it kind of feel the exact same, which it doesn't give the game enough hype, and it can also make people lose motivation to play it and stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong, this game does have some amazing models and animations, and the UI and scripting are just absolutely amazing. I mean, Sonar Studios makes some of the best games out there with UI and scripting and animations and modeling for creature-wise and stuff like that. I mean, their games are just absolutely amazing, and I know there is efforts shown, but with Animal Kingdom, I felt like something was missing. Like, I didn't feel like there was enough effort put into it, which kind of got me a little bit disappointed because I know how much potential Sonar Studios can put out there, and I just feel like Animal Kingdom was not But getting to the main point, I feel like Sonar Studios are rushing to put out money grabbers with just the right amount of effort to skim it over people's heads so they don't really notice what is going on. Now I'm not saying that they're trying to scam people. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that I feel like they're not seeing the concept of they need to focus on the game's quality and everything like that, and not just put out games that, oh, I think this concept was a good idea, I'm just gonna, take it and then boom, I make a game out of it. It needs to have some sort of motivation, some sort of uniqueness to it, and I feel like a lot of the new games that they be putting out for Sonar Studios just doesn't have that. Hence to why Dragon Adventures and Creatures of Sonaria are so much more popular than these new games, because back when Sonar Studios wasn't big, they put all of their effort on Dragon Adventures. They put all of the effort on Creatures of Sonaria. But with these new games, there isn't much of that there because they're so focused on the other games, or they just feel like even if they make a very bad game, people are going to still play it because they have a big amount of player base. This should also be a very big concern for Sonar Studios, whether they like it or not, because one, they could lose developers due to overwork. Now, I know that there's going to be breaks and everything like that, and it's not just one person doing all the models and stuff. I know that, but if a person is a developer for Creatures of Sonaria, Dragon Adventures, Griffin's Destiny, and also Animal Kingdom, in a way, they could feel the overwhelming of overwork, basically, because they're doing this for all of these games and they have deadlines and everything. And yes, I know they're getting paid for it. It's not like they're not getting paid, but even if you are getting paid, you could feel like you're being overworked due to how many games there are. Now, two, they could also lose players due to the lack of updates, or on some cases, the quality degrade on every update. Now, this could also affect Creatures of Sonaria, because if you think about it, if they're focused on another game like Animal Kingdom, for instance, and they're starting to make really good updates and quality updates on Animal Kingdom, they're not going to be very focused on Creatures of Sonaria because they're focused on Animal Kingdom, which will in turn make people mad because Creatures of Sonaria is going to be having bad updates because it's so focused on this other game that they're going to lack the updates for Creatures of Sonaria and what people want for those updates. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen because Creatures of Sonaria is like one of their best games out there and it's the most popular one, so of course they're always going to probably focus on Creatures of Sonaria unless it like dies or something like that. They're never going to not focus on that one first, but there is a chance that one day that could happen and Creatures of Sonaria could get hurt in the process of trying to make all these games when they need to focus on like 3 or 2 or 1. And lastly, number 3, they could lose both of these. They could lose players and developers at the same time, and this could cause the death of Sonar Studios. In my opinion, I feel like they should focus on, like I said, 1 or 2 games and maybe a third, and try not to push out more and more games, because if they're going to do that, the games are going to get less in quality, the games are going to get worse, the concepts are going to feel rushed, everything is just going to get downhill, and they should focus on maybe 3 games at max, because if they keep pushing out more games, it's just going to cause more issues, and Sonar Studios could possibly die out because of this issue. And I feel like that's something they need to consider, because it's something huge that I feel like they should see that could happen to their games. But that is basically it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I hope you guys saw the point that I was trying to make out. I'm not trying to like go and like diss on Sonar Studios, be like, oh, this is the worst studios ever. I'm not trying to make it seem like they're really bad people or they're really bad at making games, because they really are pretty good at making games. Sonar Studios has made some of the best games in my childhood of Roblox, basically. So it's not like I hate Sonar Studios or anything like that. I'm just trying to express a concern that I have that I keep seeing happen more commonly, and it could cause the issue of dying out for Sonar Studios. But if you guys have different opinions, please do let me know in the comments below. But with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one.